I'm selling my childhood home. It's bittersweet. It really is. You might have seen it because I shared it on a story on Instagram at Nathan Morris, which I'm sure you're here because you support me implicitly, and I appreciate that so much. This is Bonus Noise. I am me and you are you, and I hope this finds you well, whatever time of the day or night it is you're catching it. I'm trying to articulate it. I'll tell you, I knocked on the door in 2019, the year before my partner, Jack, died. And he had bought his childhood home in Fordsville, Kentucky, middle of nowhere. He grew up with humble beginnings, very, I would just say poor, because he was, and he died in 2020, a very, very wealthy man. I am just grateful for what he taught me, and he had bought his childhood home because he wanted to reclaim it. He had great memories, even growing up poor. He didn't know any different. To a degree, that's similar to my upbringing. My upbringing was not, I would say, lower middle class, maybe low class. I wouldn't say that we weren't poverty, but we were definitely tight on money. And I remember moving into the house, I was like 6 or 7 years old. Experienced like the flood of 97, experienced the massive snowstorm. Had a lot of really good memories there as a child, but I think that the heaviness that was 1744 for me growing up, it was a time mom and dad were splitting up and then ultimately got divorced, and I was troubled by that, by a lot of things really, because now that I realize who I am and what I am, I'm an artistic creative, and I think artistic creative people, they're forever challenged by mental health things. I don't know. I mean, I sound like a bumbling idiot. I'm just trying to be careful with the words because I don't want to say like I'm nutso or that people who are creative are all nutso or whatever, but I am speaking specifically to myself. And I just graduated high school. It was very challenging for me. I didn't know what I wanted to do. Did I want to go to college and kick for football? Did I want to get a scholarship that way? I had always been the guy that was going to go and become the next famous pop star. And 2 days after graduating high school, I decided to hop on a plane. So my memories of my childhood home overall had a lot of weight and heaviness. And I feel like I was gravitating toward the weight and heaviness over the good memories that I now can remember and reflect on. And I think it's because, and this is what my point is, I knocked on the door in 2019 before my partner died, back to that, and I asked if I could buy the house. The people that live in the house at this time are the people that bought it from my mother. So there's been no other owner since us, except this family, who did nothing to the house. In 2019, they weren't ready to sell. And I went back in 2022. Knocked on the door again, and they said, well, we actually found a house that we like. The house was not listed. And I said, I'll pay you $1,000 right now, and I'll get a contract made up, and we'll do this. So we ultimately did. It was in April or May, and then in June we took over, and I spent a lot of nights there. And what I had done was I'd walk the rooms, and I began the process of reclaiming it, remembering good, addressing bad, addressing the sad, addressing things that I didn't necessarily address. And in doing that, I was ripping up the carpet, ripping up the floor, redoing the walls, redoing light fixtures, changing out, doing a lot of renovation myself, destruction first, just demo. And then from there, we started the process of redoing, not only reclaiming it from the standpoint of a personal, but from a from the standpoint of it aesthetically, and redid the landscape on the exterior, on the front, and on the back. I mean, we did dirt work, we did a fence. I mean, it's just so much that we did over a couple of years. And I think what I sought out to do, I realized before hitting record, is I did it. And I wanted to share that with you in this moment, because this bonus noise is the curtain behind the curtain. And so the house is listed. It is for sale. It is a great home with many great memories. And the ones that were not so great, I spent a very long time not suppressing, not running from, not avoiding, but in this demolition and this rebuild, literally, I figuratively did the same. And I'm proud to say it is going to make an incredible home for someone. And I worked very hard, and so did all the people that we hired to assist. And it has a lot of years left in it to bless another family. I accomplished what I set out to accomplish. I'm glad I knocked on the door. I'm grateful it all started with my partnership with Jack, because he bought his childhood home. And I wonder if it was for the same reason. I never got a chance to ask him. I think from what I knew, it was just this nostalgic thing that he bought it because he could at that point. For me, there was a little bit of that, but mostly it was for the purpose of healing. And I said here on this episode of Bonus Noise to tell you that I have. If you want to buy a house, if you know someone looking to buy a house in Owensboro, Kentucky, great place to raise a family. At the end of a cul-de-sac, the house is for sale. I'll link it in the show notes in the description. That is what I'm proud of in this moment. What's something you're proud of? Hold tight to that. I'm grateful for you supporting me, and I give it all right back. This is Bonus Noise. Be sure to grab some merch. I'll tell you right now, use the code G as in girl, M as in Morris, E as in eel, 20 N Nathan, M Morris. Yeah, I'll write it in the description there. 20% off any merch order. And while supplies last, I'm sending out autographed copies of The Gentleman's Closure, the first record that started it all, streamed to Starbucks worldwide. I'm very proud of that project. That was the project that catapulted all of this in 2007. And there's not many left. You cannot stream it anywhere. You cannot get it anywhere, but you can get it for free while supplies last. I'll link all that in the show notes. Be proud of yourself. Be gentle with yourself. And 1744 is for sale. Thank you for being here. How about that Super Bowl? I don't know. Don't really know how else to start this episode about the Super Bowl other than say the Super Bowl just recently happened, because I haven't really followed this season, but it is season 3 of YDT, episode 185 of a show which pulls back the curtain, takes down the walls brick by brick, and exposes the true hearts of those caring for those you love most. And yes, that is what we're doing here. And I'm just talking about the Super Bowl because that's, of course, it's America's game, which, of course, the other football, soccer should be, arguably. But nonetheless, it's happy day to you. I don't know how many times they cut to Taylor Swift, but I'm sure it was a tasteful amount. Travis Kelce, Patrick Mahomes, and all the other people who are just as important, but we don't know their names. Congratulations to the Kansas City Chiefs on your win. That's a number 3. That's a dynasty is what they would call that. I kicked in high school. Yeah, it's good. I didn't see the extra point miss, but apparently there was. So I could be wrong, actually, but I feel like I heard that. It's okay. Happy 185 to you. Yay. Happy 185 to you. I'm waiting still to see what the update is on last time, where it is on the charts, but it's somewhere good because I do know that everyone from radio DJs to fans all across are saying, I've heard last time, and Dothan, Alabama, and Cincinnati, Ohio. Thank you very much for the support, especially to Amy. Tip my hat to you. DJ at Wolf FM, thank you for playing last time and supporting yet, and I'm grateful for that. You'll notice here over my shoulder here, if you're watching the podcast, yes, you can watch the podcast, Nathan Morris Music, on YouTube, where you can subscribe and notified by clicking the bell when I release content. This is my late grandfather's display case, I guess you would call it. This sat in his office, and in his office is where he did all of his accounting stuff, everything manually with the most beautiful penmanship. And he had the graph paper, or whatever the paper's called, the paper that would fold out. And then he would have, in this case here, he would have his books on the Revolutionary War or the Civil War or any of our wars. He is a proud patriot. He is very much a historian as far as his knowledge of where we came from. That's where I got my passion for. You don't know where you're going if you don't know where you've been. And I couldn't touch it, but I could look at it. And he had his medals from World War II. And nonetheless, this was given to me after his death and grandmother's death, and so I placed in it things of importance to me. Things such as the books, some of which that were in his original display case, pictures of the kids, awards. Of course, you can't have a display case in the state of Kentucky without some Kentucky bourbon. Anyway, things in here are important. It's very scary to move this. It really was. It's done though, and that's good. That is good. You hold your breath every time you make a move. But we're one step closer. The studio it's in working condition, and I will be giving a tour. I will, but you can't really give a tour whilst on the podcast. I mean, it's kind of only fitting for something like over on YouTube. But yeah, be sure to watch the video of every podcast episode, Nathan Morris Music, on YouTube, and follow me on all the other socials. And speaking of, there's an exclusive podcast called Bonus Noise. Click the link in the description. You can subscribe for $4.99 a month, and you get, behind the curtain, if you will, of what's happening. The real, the meat and potatoes of what's going on. And what's going on is a chord was struck yesterday. I've been following since 2018-19 Casey Neistat. He is a filmmaker. He is the OG, I would say, of vlogging, vlogging on YouTube. And he set out one day to do a vlog a day on his YouTube channel. And for the longest time, his YouTube channel was what it was. But more on that over. Let's really dive in. Hold on to your plate of meat and potatoes. Casey Neistat started. I don't know his entire biography, so I won't sit here and narrate his life, but I do encourage you to check him out because he, to me, is similar to that of Gary Vee in a different sense. Gary Vee is all about this showing up and doing the work and not make excuses, not stop. Because, I mean, at some point, sooner or later, it has to all start firing, right? And it has to all start really happening for you. And the only time it'll not work is if you quit. And Casey Neistat has a similar outlook on life. And there are a few things that he has done. And as of late, he started doing this vlog a day. And he did it for hundreds of days. And we're not just talking like point and shoot on a camera and you talk, a talking head. We're talking very artistic, a lot of edits, voiceover, narration. It had storylines. It was very interesting, entertaining, great music, the themes. And he moved to LA, moved back to New York. He started companies. He's done all these other things. He's a mover and shaker for sure. And his latest video I watched on Sunday, and it was about the impossible dream. And the impossible dream is the thing or things that you're taught early on as a child that is all they are. Because after you graduate high school, you will become an administrative assistant. You get my point. It's whether it's an administrative assistant or you go into the accounting world or you go become a teacher or you go and become a mechanic. The impossible dream is just that. It's like, I want to become an astronaut. Well, you don't have any astronaut friends. You don't know anybody at NASA, so the likelihood of that is 1 in a quadrillion, so you don't want to try that because that's too hard. The impossible dream. For Casey, it was he wanted to run a marathon, 26 points through 2 miles in under 3 hours, so 2 hours and 59 minutes. He started as what he considered a young man, and it shows the trajectory over the course of 25 marathons. And he, now at 45, was like, that's my impossible dream. Maybe I'm just not that guy. Maybe I'm not the guy that needs to do a marathon in a 2 hour and 59 minute time frame. And then he stops this vlog and you hear this pause, there's this dead air, and he goes, fuck that. Excuse my language there, people, but he is that guy. We all are that guy and gal. The only reason that you don't run the 2 hour and 59 minute marathon is because you choose not to. And that's real. Because he hired an Olympic runner as a trainer. And he ran not only a 2 hour and 59 minute marathon, but a 2 hour and 57 minute marathon, beating his time that he has set forth achieving for 2 decades by 2 minutes. And I was so inspired by that because he said he was going to vlog daily. He vlogged daily. He said he was going to do this marathon and do it at this time frame. And he did it. It took him 20 plus years, but he didn't stop. He did not stop. It's like the rolling the rock up the hill and getting to the top just for it to roll back on you. And that, he uses that analogy too in his video, by the way. But at a certain point, wouldn't you think that if you continue on, you will push that over the peak, the rock? And the impossible dream to you, I can't say what yours is. I can't fault you for maybe stopping your attempts, but the impossible dream for me is this: doing what I'm doing, releasing music that's resonating, that's charting at Billboard, that's charting at radio nationwide, that's streaming all over the globe, that has the ears and eyes of you and other people. And the impossible dream is connecting in a grand way. When people told me that I need to stop by not using those words, but using whether it be hate or untruths or versions of or neglect or I can't really articulate it, and it's still fearful for me to sometimes articulate or attempt to, because this whole sound, if it's just a one-sided, like this podcast, for instance, like the words coming out of my mouth, it might sound as if there's this element, this tone of victimization, and that's not at all the case, because there are things that I haven't done well or great at points, and that is all part of this impossible dream. Do you stop? Do you say, well, I fucked up, I need to quit? Oh, well, I did that wrong, I should stop. Well, that's what everyone wants you to do. That's the version that they're telling you, because that's what they've been told. That's what they gave into. And it's as simple as this. I'm telling you, they don't want you to succeed at your impossible dream because they quit theirs. And they are simply a version of themselves. They are doing what they know the world wants them to do. There's an element of frustration. There's an element of intimidation that they have for you for continuing on. I'm 38. And I have said since I was a 7-year-old kid that this is what I'm going to do. And I thought anything other than this was a failure. And to a point, I'm glad. To a point, I'm glad that I've thought that, because nothing is going to stop me or get in the way of, and I've been told to be a car salesman. Nothing against car salesmen. Why would I do that? Why? For $1? For $1? It's like, what is the purpose? What's your impossible dream? Have you quit it? Did you stop it? You can pick it back up. You're not ever too young. It's never too late. And to Casey Neistat, I'm so grateful that you made that video. He said it was 17 years in the making. That's how long he attempted, not 2 decades, nearly 17 years to achieve the impossible dream, something that is now no longer impossible to him. And to those who say you can't do that, you probably should consider another career choice. Guidance counselors, by the way, at high schools, you need to be careful. You really need to be careful, because the words you say to your students, the people who come into your office with maybe their heads down because they need a little bit of a pep, they need a little pat on the back and say, hey, you got this. And then they leave defeated even more because you've said, oh, you don't have this. You should kind of consider just submitting to this idea of what the world expects of you. It's not fair. And I hate saying that even too, because it's not fair as lazy talk. Oh, it's not fair. The world isn't fair. Sure, my point. Guidance counselors, step it up. Instill some inspiration in your kids. And just because it doesn't provide a societal norm doesn't mean it's not right and true for this individual. And my impossible dream, I continue to strive toward, and every single thing that I've said I'm going to do at this point, I am still working toward or have achieved, and I will not stop. And I hope that inspires you to do that too. I was asked by my therapist to write a letter to the former me from me now, and then write a letter from the former me to me now. Write a letter from me to the former me, and then write a letter from the former me to me. So 2 letters. And I've been putting it off. I've been kind of scared to do it. And I think that's all part of the healing journey. I think that's all part of this whole process of growth and getting better and doing what it takes to do that. There's something, I don't know, I don't want to say icky, but it feels like there's maybe a little bit of sting that's going to happen. Why do we, obviously it's kind of like putting your hand over a hot stove because you know that it's going to hurt. So you don't put your hand over the hot stove. Well, you do once, but that's maybe what this is all about, is this whole idea of kind of peeking and looking and seeing what is behind there, what feelings I'll feel by writing to the old me, and then writing as if I am the old me, because I do remember where I was not too long ago, and I didn't like that place or version of, but here we are on episode 185, and I've done what this show said, even when I was like, wait, we're not necessarily tearing down walls brick by brick and exposing the hearts of those caring for those. Well, that's not true. because each and every week I've let you in a very special and profound way to expose the heart of me as I attempt my damnedest to care for those, which is you, by showing up for you, but not only those, but me, myself. Because if I'm not well, then how can I take care of and love my children? Or how can I take care of and love self and you? And so this is a show which pulls back the curtain to my life and world. It does tear down the walls brick by brick to expose the hearts of those caring for those you love most. And I'm proud of where we are together, independently. I encourage you and I challenge you. The impossible dream is only impossible as if you think it is. It's called the impossible dream because everyone else has called it that. If you keep going, I assure you, you will hit your target. Sooner or later, that dart that you continue to throw and you're like, damn it, I'm going to hit that bullseye, you'll hit it. Your arm might get tired. You'll get frustrated. You'll have everybody laughing at you. And the bar will empty out because it's closing time and they got to get a little bit of sleep before they come back to do that all over again, which is nothing, while you continue to do the work. Continue to show up for yourself, and to show up for yourself you must, if in fact you wish to hit that target and achieve the impossible dream. It is not impossible. Never stop. Find what you love. Be nerdy about it. I'm grateful to meet you here. This is such a privilege and honor to show up, to be here for you, to be here for myself. And I hope, if anything, you just take one little piece of nugget each and every week and just know you're valued. And I am grateful for you supporting everything it is that we're doing. And yes, shows are rolling in. We're playing New York City on April the 18th. Be sure to visit nathanmorrismusic.com/tour to see dates as they come in real time. We're working on shows in Rhode Island and Connecticut and Massachusetts and Utah and everywhere in between. They'll be filling the gaps and the spaces. And yes, click in the show notes there. You can subscribe on TikTok for $5.99 a month for VIP first looks, first listens, first watches, and access to VIP experiences when we are in a city near you. Those are for meet and greets and other individual things. And I also am grateful for everyone supporting Bonus Noise. It is subscription only podcast, the show after the show after the show. Grateful to meet you here. Follow me on all the socials right there in the show notes. Grab you some new merch and swag. Let me know by tagging me, and I am grateful for you. I'll see you over on YouTube, where I go live Monday through Thursday, and we talk all kinds of stuff like ghosts and paranormal. And right now we're on crime series. It's only impossible as if you say it's impossible. Who the hell cares what other people say? It does make for a good title, though. I'll see you at 186. It's you, it's me, it's YDT. It's season 3, episode 177 of You'll Die Trying, a show which pulls back the curtain, takes down the walls brick by brick, and exposes the true hearts of those caring for those. This time of year always makes me think of all the people that I've cared for over the years, those that are left behind to celebrate, if at all possible, to remember to mourn continuously this loss that's forever felt every day, and sometimes felt more so than others. I'm speaking specifically to the calls, the families that have forever changed my life. It's not so happy holidays for everybody. Whether you believe it or not, there's an intuition that is formed, that happens, I feel, when you are ingrained in the funeral profession. It's one of those things that you can almost call when the death is going to happen. It's almost like you're so connected to the profession that when it's your night on call, you can almost sense, I'm going to get a call tonight. Or if you hear about someone that is actively dying, and they don't even have to be like a family you normally serve, meaning the Jones family, Smith family, they always use ABC Funeral Home, so they're going to call us. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying if a tragedy occurs and someone's on life support and for some reason you just feel hyper connected to the situation, and you just know in your gut that you're going to be able to have the honor, because of course the loved one will die, and that's not what you want, but you're gonna have the honor to care for them. You're dialed in. I remember this time of year and the deaths that occurred. I remember specifically the drunk driver driving the black Trailblazer heading westbound and just demolished a car, and the car was occupied by two young men who both died. I remember this family. I remember everything about the family. I remember everything about him. I remember how much he loved Mopar and all of his family who love him, and his friends who showed up in droves, and his friend who was in the vehicle with him, and how he was new to the area. And I remember how loving each family were to one another, and the visitations happened simultaneously, and the support was phenomenal. And seeing this young man's father around or on social media, I think about, of course, his mother, and she is carrying a weight that is unimaginable. He shows his face still. I mean, I don't even know how someone could get up right after, but I can't help but have these lumps in my throat, because this is another Christmas without his son. And why? It's not a decision that his son made. Someone else drove intoxicated and hurt so many people. And I get to celebrate with my kids. And I get to celebrate until I don't get to celebrate. I think about them. And then I think about the 3 little kids who were killed in the car crash, and whose mother, who survived with some of the siblings as well, how they were villainized. Accidents happen to everyone, and I wish I could say that I tell my 4 kids to do something. They all do it all the time without question. And the vehicle that the kids were in, some of the older ones, took their seatbelts off in the back. The mother's none the wiser. She's driving essentially a bus. I mean, she could scream, put it on her seatbelt. She thought the seatbelts are on, and the wreck that was had, accident happened, and 3 of the children were deceased. And I remember going to the hospital, one after another, after another. And I think about them during this time. I think about knowing how old those kids would be now. This profession, you're dialed in. This is the first year in 13 I have not been on call on Christmas. 13 years of holding my breath. Being on call is the phone right at your hip, in your hand. And you almost can tell when it's going to ring. But being on call, that's a job in and of itself. Being on call because your brain's there. It's there. I hope that those I generally spoke of and the tragedy that they face day in and day out because of the initial tragedy, I hope that there's a sense of joy, just a flicker of, because we go about our holidays and we too have experienced grief, yes, absolutely. And we are able to gather with family and friends and do these incredible get-togethers, and just being mindful of these people and knowing that there are people who are very sad, I think is good. And 13 years of being on call, the gratitude I have to not be on call, the gratitude I have to have been called, the gratitude I have to be in a profession that's allowed me the opportunity, even with the backpack as heavy as it had gotten. And I almost am winded sharing the story, the pressure in my chest. It's very real because I'm reliving these families that I love. You grow to love them. You grow to connect with them in a profound way that will always connect you to them. And I wish for them, I wish for you, I wish for everyone to know the love that I have for you. And yes, it's, how can you love a stranger that you've never met? Yes, I understand, but I think there's this ability to genuinely just appreciate mankind. And in this moment, you're here in my real estate on this podcast, or you follow me on all the socials, Nathan Morris Music, or the subscribers only bonus noise, which I appreciate because it's opening up that book, that notebook that I talk about. It's the writing in the day and in the night, and you have to share the heaviness. And I do feel that you can have a genuine love for. So this holiday, this Christmas, this season of joy and comfort and rest, I hope it's that, regardless of how you celebrate or what you celebrate. I hope that you sense just a spark of just immense love and peace. And I know where that peace comes from. And I hope that you experience it in a very profound way. In the last 13 years of my life, I wouldn't have done it different. I have gratitude because perspective is incredible. Again, to those families who are celebrating in a very different way, a chair or multiple chairs are empty. May you experience peace. And this holiday season, may you experience peace. You've all been so supportive this year, 2023, the launch of season 3 of the podcast, the bonus noise subscribers only, which you, of course, can subscribe to in the show notes, following me on all of these socials. And then January 8th, the single going to radio, January 12th, the single releasing, and so many things to be proud of, mindful of, hopeful for. Be grateful for the life you have and know that you matter. And I appreciate you more than you'll ever know Christmas is right around the corner. I can hear the bells. I hear the bells. Merry Christmas.